Shabbat Shalom.
It is wonderful to be here, to be together on Shabbat on this magnificent day. I hope you got some time outside. I got to sit outside for lunch today, and it was incredible. I haven't had much outdoor time recently.
Yes, and it's a little chilly, but the sun is beautiful, isn't it? Yeah.
And it's supposed to get warm over the weekend, so enjoy the fall weather while it's here. So let's be together and be present in this space. Set our intention with taking a few deep breaths. Let's take a deep breath in and release. And this next breath, as we take it in and release, we release the week and all of its stresses and anxieties and frustrations. Feel it all go away. And with this next breath in, we breathe in the sweetness of Shabbat, that sweet spice that is found only on Shabbat. Thank you. Our opening song is by Flori Jagoda. Mm-hmm. And Deb, do you want to say a little bit about it?
Sure. So this is Buen Shabbat, which for those of you online, you will get a slide, so you will be able to see the words, and I still have not learned how to print them out for our roomers. And so I hope you'll enjoy it. It's the words are in Ladino. Flori Jagoda wrote most of her music is in Ladino, and we're going to open and close with Flori Jagoda today. So this one is Buen Shabbat. Let's sing together. You know this part. Buen Shabbat, con salud y vida. Buen Shabbat a toda la familia. Yai dai dai, yai da 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 dai dai dai, yai dai dai. Buen Shabbat, con salud y vida. Años muchos, con paz y alegría. Ya da 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 da, ya da 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 da. And the words mean on Sabbath, we wish good health, good life, and many years of peace and happiness to the whole family. Da, 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 da.
We turn to lighting our Shabbat candles. That reading is found on page 3. As these Shabbat candles give light to all who behold them, so may we by our lives give light to all who behold us. As their brightness reminds us of the generations of Israel who have kindled light, so may we in our own day be among those who kindle light.
Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav, v'tzivanu lehadlik ner, shel Shabbat.
Blessed are you, Adonai, our God, sovereign of the universe, who hallows us with mitzvot, commanding us to kindle the lights of Shabbat. We continue with Kiddush on pages 4 and 5. The heaven and the earth were finished in all their array. On the seventh day, God finished the work that God had been doing, and God stopped on the seventh day from all the work that God had done. And God blessed the seventh day and declared it holy, because on that day God ceased from all the work of creation that God had done.
Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, borei peri hagafen. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam, asher kitshanu b'mitzvotav v'ratzavanu, v'shabbat kodsho be'ahava uvratzon hinchilanu, zikaron lema'aseh v'reshit, ki hu yom techila lemikrae kodesh, zecher letziar mitzrayim. Kivanu v'acharta, v'yatanu kidashta, mikol hamim, v'shabbat kodshecha, be'ahava uvratzon, hinchaltanu. Baruch atah Adonai, Mekadesh HaShabbat. Amen. L'chaim. You know, I'm still thinking back to when we did our services from our own homes and how we were all doing l'chaim afterwards. So
One of our ideas was to, when we're all back, to all of us have our own Kiddush cups. So we'll still play with that. Remember?
oh, I thought it was our own candles. We weren't sure we
Oh,
wanted
you're
people
right.
drinking.
It was our own candles.
Yeah.
Yes, you're right. You're right.
Either way.
Our opening reading is on page 7. Where has this week vanished? Is it lost forever? Will I ever recover anything from it? The joy of life, the unexpected victory, the realized hope, the task accomplished. Will I ever be able to banish the memory of pain, the sting of defeat, the heaviness of boredom? On this day, let me keep for a while what must drift away. On this day, let me be free of the burdens that must return. On this day, Shabbat, abide. Help me to withdraw for a while from the flight of time. Contain the retreat of the hours and days from the grasp of frantic life. Let me learn to pause, if only for this day. Let me find peace on this day. Let me enter into a quiet world on this day. On this day, Shabbat, abide. So we turn to the Baruch Hu, our call to worship. It says we've warmed up a little bit and we're ready to dig a little deeper into our Shabbat prayers. The Baruch Hu is found on page 28. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Baruch hu et Adonai HaMevorach. Baruch Adonai HaMevorach leolam vaed.
The Mariv Aravim is found on page 31. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Your wisdom sets the way on which time and season glide. Your breath guides the sail of the stars. Creator of the tide of time and light, you guide the current of day into night. As heaven spans to infinity, you set its course for eternity. Praise to you, Adonai, our God, from whom the evening flows. Baruch atah Adonai, Hama'ariv Aravim. The Shema is found on pages 34 and 35. It's a full page spread. And the top that you'll see is how it will look in the Torah if we were to open the Torah. And we take a moment now and we sing the Shema, the watchword of our faith.
Shema Yisrael, Adonai Eloheinu, Adonai Echad. Baruch Shem Kevod Malchuto Leolam Vaed.
Please be seated.
Ve'ahavta et Adonai Elohecha b'chol levavcha u'v'chol nafshecha u'v'chol meodecha ve'hayu hadvarim ha'ele asher anochi metzavcha hayom al levavecha v'shinantam levanecha v'dibarta bam B'shivtecha b'veitecha, uv'lechtecha v'derech, uv'shochbecha uv'kumecha, u'kshartam le'ot al yadecha, v'hayu letotafot b'neinecha, u'chtavtam al mezuzot beitecha, u'visharecha. Leman tizkeru ba'asitem et kol mitzvotai, Vitem kedoshim lelohechem. Ani Adonai Elohechem. Asher hotzeiti etchem me'eretz Mitzrayim lihiot lachem lelohim. Ani Adonai Elohechem.
Page 40, we find Michamocha. Michamocha is also known as the Song of the Sea. It's when the Israelites crossed the Red Sea and sang to God, "Who is like you, God? Who could do such amazing things? Who could work such wonders?" As they crossed the Red Sea and they realized for the first time they were free. And so we sing this every Friday, every service, reminding ourselves of our obligation to make sure that others are free in the same way. Hashkivenu, the words of the Hashkivenu can be found on page 42. We'll sing slightly different lyrics, but the spirit is still the same. Hashkivenu is our evening lullaby. It asks God to provide protection for us, for God to offer shelter and to guard us, and to be a shelter, a sukkot shalom, a shelter of peace. Whether it's physical shelter or spiritual shelter, God is there as a sukkot shalom.
Shalom,
Vishamru is on page 44. There are some weeks where we really need a Shabbat, where we really need that deep breath, that gift of time. And I'm not sure what everyone else's week was like, but I really need Shabbat. And so I'm quite thrilled that we are celebrating this hour together and this next 24 hours that is the gift of Shabbat. And Vishamru is a reminder that Shabbat is a gift, that Shabbat is our time for renewal, which is the last word of this song we sing together.
ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. Israel, oti leolam, veshamru bnei Israel et hashabat, lasot et hashabat ledorotam berit olam. Ki sheshet yamim asa Adonai, את השמיים ואת הארץ, ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. וביום השביעי שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש, שבת בי נפש. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם. ושמרו בני ישראל את השבת, לעשות את השבת לדורותם ברית עולם.
We turn now to the Tefila, which can be found on page 46 for our centering moment. The Adonai Savatai is actually not a prayer. It just reminds us of the importance of the next set of prayers. And then we'll chant straight through the Shabbat Amidah, page 48, page 50, page 52. Please rise in body or in spirit.
Adonai sefatai tiftach ufi yagi tehilatecha. Adonai, open up my lips that my mouth may declare your praise. Baruch atah Adonai, Eloheinu v'Elohei avotenu v'imotenu, Elohei Avraham, Elohei Yitzchak, v'Elohei Yaakov, Elohei Sarah, Elohei Rivka, Elohei Rachel, v'Elohei Leah. Ha'el Hagadol, Hagibor v'Hanora, El Elyon, Gomel Chasadim Tovim, Ve'konei Hakol, Ve'zocher Chasdei Avot ve'imahot, U'mevi Ge'ula Livnei v'neihem, Lema'an Shemo be'ahava. Melech Ozer u'Moshia u'Magen, Baruch atah Adonai, Magen Avraham ve'Ezrat Sarah. Atah gibor le'olam Adonai, Mechaye hakol atah, Rav lehoshia. Mechalkel chayim bechesed, Mechaye hakol berachamim rabim. Somech noflim ve'rofeh cholim, Umatir asurim. ומקיים אמונתו לשני עפר. מי כמוך בעל גבורות ומידו מלך, מלך ממית ומחיה ומצמיח ישועה, ונאמן אתה להחיות הכל. ברוך אתה אדוני מחיה הכל. אתה קדוש ושמך קדוש, וקדושים בכל יום יהללוך סלה. ברוך אתה אדוני האל הקדוש.
Please be seated. It's become our custom to take a moment for gratitude. Actually, in the prayer book itself, I actually forgot to look at what page, you'll find a prayer called Modim. And that Modim comes from the word Todah in modern Hebrew, which means thanks. And in every service, and in every moment of prayer, from the moment we wake up to the moment we go to bed, our rabbis have found times to remind us for gratitude. They know that it's more human nature to complain than it is to be joyous. And so they wove into our entire liturgy moments of gratitude. And so we take a moment of personal gratitude. What are you grateful for this week? What blessings have you found in this week? No matter how hard, no matter how frustrating, there's always that moment of gratitude. As we sing Shalom Rav, perhaps if you are at home, you'll lift up that moment of gratitude in the chat or share it with the person you're sitting next to or near.
Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Ki ata hu melech hador lechol hashalom. Ki ata hu melech hador lechol hashalom. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. V'tov be'einecha levarech et amcha Yisrael bechol עת ובכל שעה בשלומך. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Shalom Rav al Yisrael Amcha Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam. Tasim Leolam.
Even as we've found moments of gratitude and moments of blessing, we know that there are many in our temple family, many whom we love, who are struggling on this Shabbat, whether it be spiritual struggling, physical struggling. There are so many in our lives who are ill. If they are physically ill, mentally ill, struggling in untold ways. And so we lift them up using the chat. I hope you'll lift them up in the chat with permission and here in the sanctuary as my hand passes over, if you want to share aloud the names of loved ones who are struggling, knowing that together when we lift them up in prayer, they will find a measure of comfort.
Jane, Michael, and Susan.
Lee, and Janet. We join together in the prayer for healing. If you need the words, page 253. We take a few moments now for silent prayer and reflection. Oh, that's funny. And my apologies, because we are trying something new this evening, something we haven't done since we've been back in the sanctuary, which is we're going to do a text study. But those of you in person don't have the text. You will in a moment. That is coming within the next 3 minutes, I promise. You will have it in your hands. And those of you online do have it in front of you. And what we are looking at is, and I'm just going to be telling Jacob when to turn the slides in a moment. So we're on slide 1 right now. Cool. So we made it back around. We're back in Genesis. We're back in the story of creation. And one of my favorite characters in Talmud is named Rabbi Ben Bagbag, and the reason he's my favorite character in Talmud is just because I love saying his name. Rabbi Ben Bagbag, it's so much fun to say, and he said turn it over and over again because everything is in it. And if you look at this week's Torah portion, just the story of creation, the riches of study in there is, you could spend years just on this Torah portion. What I want to study briefly with us tonight is Genesis chapter 1, verses 26 through 28. And I want to look at what happens when God makes humankind after our likeness, B'Tselem Elohim, which we've studied quite a bit here. What does it mean for God to make humankind in our likeness? And then it says, have dominion over the fish of the sea and all of the animals. And then my favorite phrase, the creeping things that creep on the earth, all the creepy crawly things. And God blesses them and says, and then subdue it. And then the word dominion appears again. So twice in 2 verses, dominion and subdue. So what is our role and responsibility when it comes to the earth and when it comes to creatures, animals, creepy crawly things? I'll let you just think about that for a moment. What does it mean to have dominion and to subdue it? And those of you at home, if you want to try to answer online, please do so. Jacob, you can go to the next slide. There are, as you can imagine, thousands and thousands of opinions by different rabbis and different commentators over the years, over thousands of years, over what it means to have dominion, what it means to subdue the earth. And I'm going to read you a couple. I'm going to go through a couple. This one is one that's new to me. I just learned it, honestly, this week. It's Rabbi Moses ben Nachman, or Nachmanides. You might be more familiar with the word Nachmanides, early medieval commentary. Because those of you in the sanctuary don't quite yet have your copies, they're coming unless I made Deb break the copier. We'll see. I'll read this one to you. The meaning of let them have dominion is that they shall rule vigorously over the fish, the fowl, the cattle, and all creeping things.
Yes, but no.
The cattle here.
Everything is broken.
Deb, your
face.
microphone's on. That's awesome. Okay. The cattle and all creeping things. The cattle here includes the beast.
Thank you for checking on.
Deb, your microphone's on. She can't hear me. It's okay. And God said, Jacob, can you let Deb know her microphone's on when she's talking to you? Your microphone was on. How fun was that? I'm going to keep reading now. And over all the earth, to indicate that they are to rule over the earth itself, to uproot and to pull down, to dig and to hew out copper and iron. The term v'yirdu applies in the same way they rule the masters over his servant. So they are getting their copies now. So I want to try to analyze this very briefly. So what Rabbi Nachman is teaching, Nachmanides is teaching, is that he believes that we have significant power and that our job, our role in the world is to rule vigorously over the earth, whether we are ruling over animals, farming, or even mining, hewing out copper and iron. Just as God rules over us, we rule over the earth. It is here in service to us. Jacob, you want to go to the next slide? So that was a little mind-blowing. Now I want to share with you the most opposite opinion. Rav Kook, who was the first chief rabbi of the state of Israel, total opposite opinion. And I chose this one because I kind of love the sarcasm. Any intelligent person should know that Genesis 1:28 does not mean the domination of a harsh ruler. This is not about ruling over the earth. This is not about our personal whim and desire according to what our heart is. So he's arguing in the direct opposite of Nachmanides. He's specifically arguing against what Nachmanides said. And what's his argument? Could God have really created such a complex and magnificent world solely for our play place, for our caprice? So we do not exist to do whatever we want to do. The earth is not in service to us. Next slide. So Rabbi Shai Held is a contemporary rabbi in this world, and he writes absolutely beautiful commentary and is one of the leaders of a contemporary yeshiva called Hadar. And what I really want to focus on is the second paragraph, Ibn Ezra from the 12th century. And he pushes very hard on Nachmanides. And he says, the ignorant think that humanity's rule over earth is just like what God does. So as God rules over us, we rule over the world. But instead, we are serving in the same way that God is serving. So what is that? Human being is God's steward over the earth. So he recreated the word dominion as steward. So we are in service to the earth, not in control over the earth. And what's happened here is they've recreated, you want to turn to actually not the next slide yet, sorry, recreated this concept. This is about power. And what does power look like? Is power control or is power service? And effectively, there's a new argument here. Power is not control, that we rule over it, but we serve it. Now you can go to the next slide. Thanks, Jacob. So why is this so important right now? Why am I seeing this with new eyes? In this week's news, there were two things that stood out to me about the environment. You may have seen the incredible activist Greta Thunberg give a speech at the Youth for Climate. There's a Youth for Climate symposium. It's a 3 or 4 day symposium. It's 400 children in Europe. I shouldn't say children, young adults. And they are empowering themselves to make change in the environment. And most of her speech was basically saying, stop talking and start doing. The second piece is what I've included on this slide. There was a study that came out from the journal Science that basically says that under our current global climate policies, children born in 2021 will face climate disasters at a disproportionate rate. And so compared to 60 years ago, they will have 7 times more heat waves, 2 times more wildfires, 3 times more drought, river floods, and crop failures. So what is it that we are to do? We have a responsibility. And so if you go to the next slide. So this is from Rabbi Shai Held. I'm going to let you take a moment to read this, and I'm just going to comment on it. What he teaches and what we believe is that some people see this Genesis 1 as a call for the earth to serve us. It's the opposite. What do we want our power to be? What is our responsibility? Dominion here is a call for us to exercise power, reading from the slide, in the way that the Torah imagines the ideal world to be, in service, in obedience to the reign of God, and for the sake of other creatures. Not so that other creatures would suffer, but so that other creatures will thrive. So it depends on how we understand dominion. Dominion is not power over. Dominion is power in service to. I hope that this is interesting and informative to you. I also want to challenge each of us to think about that Science Journal article and what ways can we make a difference in the earth. Shabbat Shalom.
Shabbat Shalom. Yeah, so I just want to apologize for my outburst. I was a little frustrated. I think I need that Vayinafash at the end.
Well, thank you for trying and doing helping me.
Well, and for those of you who are in the room, I also have copies of while I was at it, of our closing song too. So maybe you can pass those out when, the time comes. Anyway, so I wanted to share a song with you today that sort of builds on Rabbi's sermon. It's called B'Tselem Elohim, which, it talks about how we are made in God's image. It also has the words Bereshit bara Elohim. Rabbi, what's the literal of that? I want to make sure I get that right. In the beginning, right? So, in the beginning, God created. Yes, in the beginning, God created all our hopes and all our dreams. And I like the juxtaposition of the words in that part. So. It was bound to happen, right? Sometime. We all got a life to live. We all got a gift to give. Just open your heart and let it out. We all got a piece to bring. We all got a song to sing. Just open your heart and let it out. Yeah. When I reach out to you and you to me, we become B'Tselem Elohim. When we share our hopes and our dreams, each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. We all got a tale to tell. We all want to speak it well. Just open your heart and let it out. We all got a mountain to climb. We all got a truth to find. Just open your heart and let it out. Yeah. When I reach out to you and you to me, we become B'Tselem Elohim. When we share our hopes and our dreams, each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim, all our hopes and all our dreams. Bereshit bara Elohim, each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim, all our hopes and all our dreams. Bereshit bara Elohim, each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. Bereshit bara Elohim, all our hopes and all our dreams. Bereshit bara Elohim, each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. Yeah, yeah. When I reach out to you and you to me, become B'Tselem Elohim. When we share our hopes and our dreams, each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. Each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. Each one of us B'Tselem Elohim. Each one of us B'Tselem Elohim.
When we become B'Tselem Elohim, when we are in the image of God, reaching out to one another to lift the world up, we are also preparing for Aleinu. Many of us think of Aleinu, oh, it's that prayer where services are almost over and we open the ark. It is also a prayer where we state that we are partners with God in making the world a more perfect place. Please rise in body or in spirit. Let us adore the ever-living God and render praise unto you, who spreads out the heavens and established the earth, whose glory is revealed in the heavens above, and whose greatness is manifest throughout the world. You are our God, there is none else.
V'anachnu korim umishtachavim umodim lifnei melech mochei hamlachim hakadosh baruch hu v'nemar v'haya Adonai lemelech al kol haaretz bayom hahu Bayom hahu yeh Adonai echad u'shemo echad.
We turn now in our service to our time of remembering. Our memorial meditation is found on page 288. You may be seated. When I die, give what's left of me away to children and old men that wait to die. And if you need to cry, cry for your brother walking the street beside you. And when you need me, put your arms around anyone and give them what you need to give me. I want to leave you something better than words or sounds. Look for me and the people I've known or loved, and if you cannot give me away, at least let me live in your eyes and not in your mind. You can love me best by letting hands touch hands, and letting bodies touch bodies, and by letting go of children that need to be free. Love doesn't die, people do. So when all that's left of me is love, give me away. On this Shabbat, we remember in Shiva and in those most recently taken from our temple family, the first week since their death, Cheryl Sitnick. And we mark in Shloshim in the first month since their death, Janie Miller. And we remember the yahrzeits, the anniversaries of death, David R. Bamberger, Joseph H. Berger, Edith Gross Bialowski, Minna S. Buxbaum, Dorothy Roth Cohn, Norman J. Danzig, Jack B. Dworkin, Oscar W. Fischel, Gertrude S. Fleischman, Albert V. Fried, Leo Friedman, Bertha Friedman, Sarah Grossman, Robert V. Haas, Luella F. Cohn, Hilda Lustig, Philip Lustig, Sam Miller, Bob Newman, Robert David Rosewater, Harold Samet, Alfred H. Schaffner, Helen L. Schwartz, Louis H. Schwarzenberg, Stanley H. Shensa, Molly R. Steele, Edgar H. Weil. Our griefs and sympathies are mingled as together we turn to the mourner's Kaddish, page 294. Please rise in body or in spirit. Yit Gadal v'yit Kadash Shemei Rabbah, B'alma Divra Chirute v'amlich Malchute, b'chayechon uv'yomechon uv'chaye dechol beit Yisrael, ba'agala uv'izman kari v'imru amen. Yehi shmei rabba mevorach leolam almei almaya, yitbarach v'yishtabach v'yitpa'ar v'yitromam v'yitnaseh, v'yithadar v'yithale v'yithalal shemei dekudasha barechu, le'elam min kol birchata v'shirata, tush b'chata v'nechemata, da'amiran bi'alma v'imru amen. Yehi shlama rabba min shemaya, v'chayim aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. Oseh shalom bimromav, huya aseh shalom, aleinu v'al kol Yisrael, v'imru amen. May the source of peace send peace to all who mourn and give comfort to all who are bereaved. And let us say together, amen.
Amen.
A few quick announcements. Next week, please be seated. Next week, trimester 2 for our tent is opening. Please take a look at the website because there are some incredible classes.
There's a sneak peek in your bulletin of those classes.
Oh, yes,
too.
thank you. There's a sneak peek in the bulletin. There's some pretty incredible classes. The Kol Nashim Book Club is meeting on October 18th, and the book is called The Book of V, and it sounds pretty great. And starting on October 13th, Gatherings, our small groups program, is starting, and there are 2 programs, Hike and Kibbutz, and Art, Architecture, and Museums, and they are really been very, very successful, so take a look at them. So, another Ladino song.
Another Ladino song. So this one is called Non Como Muestro Yo, which is Ladino for There Is None Like Our God, which sounds like what song that we do. Okay. Louder, you have it in front of you. It's Ein Kelohenu. There you go. So we sing it both in Ladino and in Hebrew, which I think is kind of fun. And now you have the words, so I want to hear you. All the way from home, too. Ein Kelohenu, Ein Kadonenu, Ein Kemalkenu, Ein Kemoshienu, non como nuestro Dios, non como nuestro Señor, non como nuestro Rey, non como nuestro Salvador. Mi Elohenu, mi Adonenu, mi Malkenu, mi Moshienu, quien como nuestro Dios, quien como nuestro Señor, quien como nuestro Rey, quien como nuestro Salvador. No del Elohenu, no del Adonenu, no del Malkenu, no del Moshienu, lo haremos a nuestro Dios, lo haremos a nuestro Señor, lo haremos a nuestro Rey, lo haremos a nuestro Salvador. Baruch Eloheinu, Baruch Adonenu, Baruch Malkeinu, Baruch Moshienu, bendito nuestro Dios, bendito nuestro Señor, bendito nuestro Rey, bendito nuestro Salvador. Atahu Eloheinu, Atahu Adonenu, Atahu Malkeinu, Atahu Moshienu, tu el nuestro Dios, tu el nuestro Señor, tu el nuestro Rey, tu el nuestro Salvador.
I suppose we should do a benediction.
We should, if you
Which
would like
means,
to rise.
please rise in body or in spirit.
Yevarechecha Adonai ve'yishmerecha.
May God bless you and keep you.
Yair Adonai
May the light of God's presence shine upon you and be gracious to you.
Ya'er Adonai pa. No. My gosh.
Isa.
Thank you. Yisa Adonai panav elecha ve'yasem lecha shalom ve'yasem lecha shalom.
May God lift up each one of us, and may God bring us shalom, peace, and wholeness. Amen.
Amen.
And let's, before we log off,
Oh, I think the big one might be in the kitchen if we have a big one. But there are, yes, we're going to do a motzi, and there is challah.
there's challah for those of us here in the sanctuary. We have not figured out how to send it through the camera to you, so we very much hope you have a challah at home.
Yes.
But for those of us here in person, we have a challah in the lobby.
Yes. Hamotzi lechem min haaretz. We give thanks to God for bread. Our voices rise in song together as our prayer is humbly said. Baruch atah Adonai Eloheinu melech haolam hamotzi lechem min haaretz. Amen. B'teavon. Shabbat shalom.
Shalom.